Okay, I invite you to imagine back in the early days of the human species, back when we lived in caves and jungles and forests, and there was no indoor plumbing or stores or air conditioning or heating. None of the modern conveniences, electricity, all those kind of things. And so all the primal needs would need to be met every day, and there would be a dividing out of all the various tasks needed for survival. And you were more likely to survive if you were part of a group. There was a more likelihood of survival if you were a member of a group. So one of the things we could imagine would naturally have then come online is to try to stay liked. Within the group, it would have made sense to stay liked. Because if you created too many waves within the group, you might get kicked out of the cave and have to try to go it alone out there in the tundra. Let's say it's a northern hemisphere, wintertime, cold. It'd be hard to meet all the needs on your own as compared to if you're part of a group. So there would have been a natural tendency that would have come online to read everyone and morph yourself enough to stay liked so you could stay a part of the group. Well, we can notice that still plays itself out today in our human experience. On some level, there is still some tendency within us to want to be liked. It's much more safe that way. It's much more secure to be liked, to be wanted, to be approved of. It just feels safer, more secure, more likely to be able to survive. And so that tendency can then manifest its way in all kinds of different forms. One of the ways, for me personally, in my journey, I ended up creating a whole identity around it. I've lovingly referred to it as go-along guy. One of my early identities was, the one who was willing to go along with whatever everyone else wanted to do, because I noticed if you go along with what everyone else wants to do, you're less likely to make waves and you're more likely to get to be a part of the group if you're not creating waves. So I wasn't aware that I was doing it until this story that I'm about to share. But that's one of the core identities I had picked up was the likable one, the go-along one, the easy-going one, the one willing to, not make waves. And unbeknownst to me, my whole life I had sort of developed strategies to keep everybody I knew in the I like Mitch column. If we were to imagine a piece of paper and I, on the top left, make a column called I like Mitch. And then underneath that, everyone I knew, I would try to do everything I could to keep them in the I like Mitch column. Now there's another column over to the right of that column called the I don't like Mitch column. But my whole journey, I would always try to do everything I could to get everybody that might temporarily ease over into that column and get them back in the I like Mitch column. Because I'm safer, I'm more secure if I keep everybody in the I like Mitch column. And plus, it's now had become my identity. I'm the likable one, the one that's there for everyone, the one that's caring for them, making sure everybody's okay, handling all the things, being there for everyone. And I had created an identity around that. So then I only get to be okay if I've got everybody in the I like Mitch column. If anybody starts to ease over there and there's any potential conflict or disturbance, I would morph myself, do some damage control, twist myself into a pretzel just right to get them liking me again and get them back in the I like Mitch column. That was my whole journey. Well, One day, my brother, his name is Marshall, we call him Marsh, he started dating someone, and then they ended up getting engaged. And then what I started to notice was she was really hard for me to keep her in the I like Mitch column. She kept easing over there pretty regularly in the in the I don't like Mitch column. So I would, have some time with her, do some damage control, morph myself just right, and get her back in the I like Mitch column. This had been going on for years and years. Well, one day we're at a barbecue at my brother's house, and word comes down through the grapevine that she's not liking me, and there's a disturbance. So I see that she's at the grill all by herself, and so I walk up and I start speaking with her, and I am, reading it very, very in a very refined, nuanced way. All the strategies I've developed over the years, and I figured out just right what she needs me to be and what to say and how to shift this and that around, and I've twisted myself all in kind of pretzel and jumped through a bunch of hoops, and I've got her back in the I like Mitch column. Oh, feels so much better. I feel so much more safe, so much more secure, feel so much better about myself. We're good now. There'll be no conflict. Everything's good. Because I just want everyone to love each other and be kind and caring and, sweet to each other. I don't want conflict, so that's all now happened. I go find my brother, Marsh, to bring him the good news. So he's sitting on the front porch. And I go up and I say, Marsh, I just had a conversation with her and it went so well and we're good. And right in that moment, he has one of those laughs where you're not meaning to laugh and you put your hand over your mouth and you try to cover it, sort of like, oh, kind of like that with his hand over his mouth. And I say, well, what's going on? He said, oh, nothing. And I said, well, clearly there's something. And he said, are you sure you want to know? Uh-oh. As soon as he said that, there's a part of me that just wants to run. But there was enough awareness at that point in the journey that I did want to know. And so I said, yeah, I want to know. He said, are you sure? Because once I tell you, I can't untell you. Uh-oh. This can't be good. So I said, yeah, I'm sure. He said, okay, so Mitch, you just had one of your famous damage control conversations with her, and you think that she likes you. And I said, yeah. He goes, Mitch, not only does she not like you, she hates you. Oh, no. I didn't even know that was possible. She had just created a third column on my sheet of paper that I didn't even know was possible. She created an I hate Mitch column. I didn't even know that was possible. How in the world could she hate me? I do everything for everyone, and I jump through all the hoops, and I do whatever you need, and I morph myself just right, and I make sure everyone's okay. How could she hate me? All the things I've done, just round and round the thoughts in my mind, just devastated me. There was no life force left in my body. I was just drained. For several days, I was just walking around, dragging my lifeless carcass from place to place, just feeling so terrible about myself and what a fraud and such a phony and just, devastated by it. Then I stopped one day. After several days of that, I just stopped one day to just really face the feeling. It was in my gut. And there was a lot of self-deprecating thoughts going on, and I was noticing those, and I was feeling the tension in my gut. I was just allowing myself to directly experience it. And there was all kinds of thoughts of like, how could she? How dare she? All the things I've done, all the stories justifying that she should like me. How dare she hates me? All those kind of things. And it went round and round and round, and I just kept burning in it like a fire, just burning in it, burning and burning. And then it slowly just started to release and release and release. I was just letting myself fully face it without running from it, without distracting from it, without trying to figure it out or explain it away or analyze it or fix it or any of that. Just being willing to stop and face it and be in it. And as that continued, then there was this moment of realization. Well, she obviously doesn't like me unconditionally, let alone love me unconditionally. She hates me. I started to wonder, maybe some of the other people that I know, that I think I've got in the I like Mitch column, maybe some of them actually hate me as well. It's like, wow, that can't be, can it? Can there be others? And can some of them, maybe they're not in the I hate Mitch column, but maybe they're actually in the I don't like Mitch column. And I think I've got them in the I like Mitch column. So then I just turned it back on myself and just was like available to me, my egoic construct. So from that egoic place in me, do I like her unconditionally? And I noticed that I didn't. No. I had conditions for my like, let alone my love. And then I started thinking about everyone that I knew. And I realized there's a part of me, this egoic part of me, that does not love them unconditionally. Doesn't even like them unconditionally. Many years later, I would come to term that part of us as the wanter. That's what I would now refer to it as, that part of us, that egoic part of us that wants things to be how it wants them to be. And I realized that part of me, back in those days, I would have just more referred to it as ego, did not love her unconditionally, didn't even like her unconditionally, or anyone else. I noticed that part of me was basically mad at everybody. In that moment, I realized all those hoops I had jumped through and all those things I had done for everyone to make sure everyone liked me was all an illusion. If they're in that place in them, that egoic place in them, they do not love me unconditionally. They don't even like me unconditionally. And so in that moment, what came to me was, okay, well, then that's the end of that. No more of that. That's done. No, that's done. No more. And that's in the moment where I got aware of go along guy. Go along guy had the misunderstanding that as long as he does everything for everybody, he can keep them liking him and then he's okay. But he only gets to be okay as long as they're all okay and they're all liking him. In that moment, I realized it was all an illusion. So it was sort of like, well then, fuck that. So right in that moment, my phone rang. And this is back in the days when the phones were still attached to the wall. So I got up and I answered the phone, and it was one of my friends. And he said, hey, Mitch, there's a new movie at such and such theater. You want to go to the movie with me? And I said, no. And he said, is this Mitch? Because he knows if you need somebody to go to the movie with you, you call Mitch, because he doesn't say no to things. He's go-along guy. So he actually asked, because I said no, he actually asked me, is this Mitch? And I said, yes. And he said, and you don't want to go to the movie with me? I said, no. He said, well, why not? I said, and I would have never done this prior to that moment. I would have never said what I was about to say, because in that moment, the go-along guy was dead. And I said, every time, and it was not refined, it was very clumsy, it wasn't kind, it wasn't caring, but this is what came out of me. I said, because I'm now done with go-along guy. Unbeknownst to me, what had happened in that moment was fuck you guy had come online. It's like the pendulum swung to the opposite extreme. I was go-along guy, which is an extreme place, and now it had flipped over to the other place, and I was fuck you guy. I wasn't aware of it in that moment, but that's what happened. So in response to his question, why don't you want to go to the movie with me? I said, well, every time we go to the movie, after the movie, on the car ride home, all you do the whole time is point out all the incongruencies and the inconsistencies and all the things that don't make sense. And it totally ruins the spirit of the movie that they invite us to be in. And I don't like that. And not only do I not want to go to that movie with you, I don't ever want to go to another movie with you ever again. And I hung up the phone. Click. And it felt so powerful and liberating to just be not go along guy. Now, as I say, unbeknownst to me, I had swung the pendulum over to an opposite extreme. And for about 2 or 3 days, I was full on fuck you guy. Fuck you, and fuck the horse you rode in on. Well, after about 2 or 3 days of that, I then had an interaction with one of my cousins, and I said something really hurtful. And I remember the look on her face when I said it, and I realized that's the moment that I realized that the pendulum had swung to the opposite extreme. And I realized, oh, this isn't it either. Because this version of me is just burning the place down. This isn't it either. So right in that moment, when I contemplated what had happened, I started to wonder, well, what would be in the middle? What would be the balanced version of this? What would be, if we let that pendulum not be swung to any extreme and just let it drop to its natural position, what would the natural place be? What would be the balanced version of this? And in that moment, that's when I realized, oh, that means I'm going to have to say no sometimes. There is a lot of no in the real yes. I realized the balanced version will mean that I don't leave me out. Because all this time when I was go-along guy, I was leaving me out, but I was silently resenting everybody. Couldn't say it out loud because go-along guy can't say that he has a problem with anybody. He can't ever bring up that something that they're doing is bothering him because he's go-along guy. He's the people pleaser. He can't have problems with anybody because he doesn't want conflict. So he can't ever mention the things they're doing that are bothering him. So go-along guy, he always leaves his own self out. And he then ends up just silently resenting everybody. And then there comes a point where he has to be off by himself and not be around people anymore. And there may be some people that he can't ever be around anymore because it's just too hard to be around them. In that moment, I realized, oh, in the middle, that would mean that there's going to be times that I say no. And that there's a lot of no in the real yes. And I don't have to do it, that fuck you guy version, I don't have to do that because that's not kind or respectful to them. So I can say no and I can be kind and respectful to them, but I can also not leave myself out. This is the realization that came to me from this event. And I'm so grateful for what happened there because prior to that moment, I didn't know that I was stuck in this extreme place of the people pleaser, of the go-along guy, of the one that does everything for everyone at all times and always leaves himself out, ends up silently resenting everyone. There was now a new possibility for me to explore what would it be like to be willing to say no, to risk that they might not like me if I say no. What is that like? It was really uncomfortable. And from that point on, I began exploring what would it be like to be in that more balanced place where I risk being not liked, where I realize that I can't be everything for everyone at all times because that leaves me out. And so began an unfolding of a new possibility, of a more balanced exploration of interacting with other people.